The Lovers Pentacle, Chapter 14, The Moon. He awoke 2 hours before noon, and Obero had already left the bed, showered, and got undressed. Cain did his libations before seeing about the noise in the living room, and somebody was making breakfast. And his face lighted up when he saw Eugenia. He returned to his bedroom to get changed, and after 10 minutes he left the bedroom wearing a black tank top and blue jeans and matching black tennis shoes. Eugenia shook her head sadly when she saw Cain approaching, stinking of cologne. "Oh, Cain, it really doesn't do one well to obsess with a person who is not in love with you," said Eugenia, trying to extinguish all of Cain's hopes. And as long as he had hope, he was never going to be able to form a new relationship. "I am not obsessed with you. I don't stalk you. I don't put spywares on your electronics, and even though I easily could, and I am respecting your wishes as I always have," said Cain, giving a faint smile. "Cain, I want you to give Adeline another chance, and you have a lot of chemistry, and why don't you like her?" said Eugenia, attending the role of mediator. She had felt a lot of guilt after dumping Cain, and this guilt had been temporarily lifted when she fancied that Cain had moved on, and now it had returned twice as strong. "Whatever sob story she gave you is probably a lie, and being a woman doesn't give her the right to physically abuse me," reasoned Cain. "If I was a woman, you wouldn't be asking me to get back with a man that slapped me for dumping him." Eugenia clapped before saying, "You know, you're right, Cain." "Cain, I envy you," said Santiago. "I had never, ever won an argument against Eugenia." "That is because you're only capable of walking in a man's shoes," mused Eugenia. And changing the subject, she said, "I need more cookies and cupcakes. The guests ate everything." Cain sighed with relief, and he hoped that nobody else would show up to bully him into dating Adeline. She was a bad woman, just like his mother, Bella. Sunday ended peacefully enough, and on Monday Cain awoke at the crack of dawn. And he jogged, lifted weights, and he did a bit of yoga to wind down, and he showered, made breakfast, ate, and got dressed, and then left for work. While he drove, he hummed a little tune, and he was actually looking forward to work. And he hadn't seen his Uncle again since Friday, and he was starting to miss him already, and everything was fine as long as he had the love of good friends as long as he had good friends and a family that loved him. He didn't need a girlfriend. He didn't want a lover. He repeated this lie to himself until he started to believe it. When he arrived to work, everything was business as usual. And Roger was not openly hostile, but other than dry remarks, he wasn't causing any problems. And Ken interrogated the witness to do a forensic sketch, and this was the low point of his day. And his sketches had never caught anyone, and with that out of the way, he collected all the food donated, and he then placed them in his patrol car before driving to Camilo's house. And it had been a while since he had fed the homeless, and back when his grandpa was alive, the two would visit Camilo's house twice a month to perform their civic duty of helping the less fortunate. While he drove, he didn't notice that he was being followed, and when he parked his car at the Camilo's house, the residents naturally grew restless, and they realized when they recognized Cain's cool, great eyes. And he made his way towards the kitchen, and the vagabonds made their orders, and he made all the requested home-cooked meals with the exception of foods that had ingredients that he couldn't find at the local Publix. And he lingered there until his work shift ended. And when he went to the parking lot, he frowned when he saw Roger sitting on top of his patrol car. And Roger had been sitting there for hours meditating on the Cain situation. And he didn't understand why his sister was obsessed about a guy she had only dated for 1 week. Can you just tell my sister that you're a closet case, and it'll be easier for her to accept the breakup if you tell her that you're just like our father," said Roger, finally speaking. "If I was a woman and your sister a man, we wouldn't be having this conversation," said Cain. "I get it, Cain. Double standard sucks, and women can get away with being bitches, but that is the price we men must pay for treating them like crap for over a millennium," said Roger. "It isn't fair for her to punish me for the sins of another, and your sister doesn't need a boyfriend. She needs anger management therapy, and once she gets her rage demons under control, then maybe I will give her a call, and we can have a childlike, civilized, mentally stable individuals," said Cain, giving his well-rehearsed argument. "She's already going to therapy. Come on, cut her a break," said Roger. "It was only a slap, and she has slapped me a couple of times, and we are still friends, and she is only human. Please, Kain." In the end, Kain said, "Tell your sister that I'm not falling for her manipulative tricks, and I may be lonely, but I'm not so desperate as to allow myself to be controlled by a woman who wishes to turn me into her doormat. Tell her that when she slapped me, she reminded me of my mother Bella, and I cannot love any woman who reminds me of my mother." "Can you repeat the last part?" said Roger, bringing out his pocketbook to scribble down Kain's message. Kain signed before repeating everything he said, and he wanted to close the chapter on Adeline for good. And once Roger finally had what he needed, he allowed Kain to drive home, and when he entered his house, he breathed a sigh of relief. Everything was as it should be. It was late afternoon on Monday, and Kain was relieved to be rid of Adeline, and he made his dinner for his grandmother and his father, and once they had eaten, he had 4 hours to kill before bedtime, and after meditating all of his options, he decided to go bother Carina for a few hours, and when they arrived, there was a loud music playing in Carina's house, and he opened the door with the house key he owned, and he smiled when he saw Carina and Bruno dancing together, and they were celebrating that Rebecca that had finally stopped inconveniencing them, and she had been summoned back to Missouri by her ex-husband's lawyer. The children had been out of school for too long, and she had no other choice but to return home to deal with the problem she had created for herself. "Kain, join us," said Carina, dancing over to Kain. And Bruno sat down to stretch his leg over the sofa, and he watched with bored amusement the 2 friends dancing. "So, Kain, to what do you owe the visit?" asked Carina, sitting down beside Bruno in the love seat. "Dad had a date with his girlfriend, and Grandma is at Uncle Gen's house," said Kain, taking his place in the lazy boy. "Have you ever tried just being by yourself?" asked Bruno, lowering the music. "If you want me to leave, you can just say so, Bruno," said Kain, pouting. "Nobody's telling you to leave, Kain," said Bruno, being equanimous. "I like you, I really do. I was just curious to know if you ever learned to live by yourself." "Have you?" asked Kain, not understanding Bruno's angle. Sometimes the lawyer had a way with words that confused and intrigued. "Yes, in order to find an equal partner, I needed to learn to live by myself. Loneliness is a cruel mistress, but also a welcome friend once you learn to live with it. By learning to live by yourself, you're going to be able to tackle each new opportunity rationally," advised Bruno. This is going to save you from all future Adelines." "And what do I need to do?" asked Kain. "You need to go home and be by yourself without any distractions. Use that moment for introspection. You need to meditate on why you need to be happy," said Bruno, sitting up to pace the living room, and he was in the habit of doing that whenever he was coming up with a clever argument. "Or we can do this exercise here at our house." "For how long do I have to be by myself?" asked Kain, pouting. "Just an hour," said Bruno, and he went to his chest set and he brought out a little art glass. "Go to the attic and tidy up my things a little and put all the files in alphabetical order. Dust off a little and remove the spider webs." Kain went to the attic, and with him gone, Bruno took Carina into the bedroom to roll around the hay. And Carina was quite amused by how Bruno had gotten rid of Kain for an hour without hurting his feelings. And Bruno needed an idiot to organize his clutter, so he had tricked Kain into doing his workload. Kain started by dusting everything, and he placed a handkerchief over his nose to filter some of the dust, and he vacuumed before turning his attention to Bruno's file, and he alphabetized everything, and he looked at the hourglass. He still had 10 minutes to spare, and curiosity compelled him to rummage through Umla's documents, and he wanted to read what she thought about him, and he opened the first file cabinet, and he smiled happily when he found his last name. Alright, bye-bye, God bless.